Greetings and welcome to this episode of Leadership Matters, a video interview series highlighting the stories and experiences of global leaders and providing valuable leadership lessons for our audience. The series is hosted by the dynamic Avinash Ananda, world's leading leadership and happiness master coach. Our special guest for today's episode is Mr. Shenil Varghese Pudussery, Head of Human Resources and Global Operations, Commercial and Branded Formulation at Biocon Biologics. In the pharmaceutical sector, Shenil has worked with some of the most renowned and reputed companies, including Pfizer, Dr. Reddy's Laboratories, Fresenius Kabi, and Biocon.
Dear viewers, welcome to yet another episode where we have conversations with an interesting, inspiring individual who has his own life story to share, and then we derive some life and leadership lessons from that. And who we have with us today is a very interesting individual. And when the moment we saw each other, we connected. We felt like we were like long lost twins, in some mela, and we had got lost, and then we met each other. Look at his hair and look at my hair. This is what connected us right at the beginning. Shenil is a very accomplished professional whose CV and profile was just read out to you. Shenil, very, very happy to have you on this episode.
Thank you very much, Avinash. It's my pleasure to talk to you, interact with you, and to exchange my thoughts on whatever we would like to join together.
You look like a monk, yet you have a very corporate look about you. Would love to know a little bit about your story and how you got to where you are today. Because from what I understand, so this monk and corporate is like a paradox. It's like two extremes. But similarly, you in your career, you've gone from business to HR. Which also is like a paradox. Most HR people start in HR, end up in HR. You're a person who's actually been in sales, been in business, handled operations, and then you move to HR. How did that happen?
No, primarily, if I need to take my life story to you, it's like this. I come from one of the remote villages in Tamil Nadu. So, that's where I started maybe going to school in maybe by walk, and the school buses would have been a distant dream. So coming to a metro, coming to a city was a kind of dream to all of us who were there in those villages. So as soon as I completed, it's like completed my grad. It's like pick up whatever bus that travels to the city to grab a job. So that's how it started. And the toughest one, but the easiest to pick up is in sales, because every organization has the so-called revenue generation. So how fast you generate sales is something which would get you a career to start with. So that's how I started, and I loved the career. Right, I had been very successful when I was in business. So when I actually after completing half a decade there, and I started looking back, what's the success mantra for all the businesses, that I understood that it's not the product to the process, but the people who run with the process towards the product. Okay, so that's something which I understood, that it took half a decade for me to actually understand that. I was very clear that, hey, that's where you need to focus upon, and you are good at building relationship with people. So that's how slowly I progressed myself into my dream of becoming a HR professional. From there, I started, and here I am. So that's the long journey is short, but it was very tough. It was very difficult because you started in something which is a very very conventional model of revenue generation, whereas you moved to uh, building people, building teams that will generate revenue. So it was very very tough from that perspective, but it was very easy from uh, doing that, because what is actually creating revenue. So it was very easy for me to gel myself. I was a liquid taking shapes of whatever container I was put into, and I'm here.
You like Bruce Lee saying, be like water, my friend. Huh? You fit into any container. You remind me of my father, not for any other way, but because his life story was something like similar. He started off as a sales guy, a representative. He's been in pharma, but he started in pharma companies throughout. You've been in pharma throughout?
Yeah, I had been. I did try before coming to the metro city with a lot of other possibilities, maybe in FMCG, petrochemicals,
Uh-huh.
transport, logistics. But somehow, I always had this dream of coming to a metro, and so that then after reaching Chennai, it had been always pharma throughout.
Okay. So my dad was with Hext Pharmaceutical, which became
Ah,
Aventus later. Huh?
yes, yes.
Yeah. So that's what this reminded me of. But one more thing that came to my mind, Shenil, is that HR fraternity. Uh, every fraternity has their general opinions, and some of them are on the plus side, some of them on the minus side. I've been into speaking and advising and consulting for many, many years now all over the world. And I've seen that uh, this is not a very nice thing to say, but the HR fraternity is not always clued in as to the business needs. And the best HR people I've seen are those who've been able to understand that their function is not managing people, but to channelize these energies towards business ends. So marrying the two. Did that become easier for you? And are there many people like that in the industry with
Uh,
your
uh,
kind of mindset of having both?
Amnish, it's like this, because primarily the people who are in sales or in commercial, they would like to grow up in sales and commercial, and that's a long route taken, but many people would like to pursue their career in commercial itself. It's only very few who take this understanding of
Right.
that
It's
that
there.
it's very rare. So
Yeah.
we have maybe uh, people who can be counted in the industry who have moved from the commercial to HR, and it had been because you started from the the grassroots level. It's because it becomes very easy for you to understand the challenges, understand the problems, give them solutions, and also take them through the or pursue them through a growth career. So that's something which is very easy when you come from there. So my advice would be to, if you always have the passion for people, to take this. However, it is for the individual to know his or her strengths and areas that they would like to pursue. Because for me, I always felt, maybe as a as a young school going kid till today, I always felt that people are my strength. So I connect with them easier, and I build relationship faster,
Mm.
and those relationship always had helped the organizations wherever I had been to have a great performance growth that had come all the way.
Mm.
So
Super.
that's how it had been.
That's super. That's super. Again, two questions that come to mind immediately. Number one is, what is the connection between relationships and results? Uh, you build great relationships, but sales is all about results. Working with people to get results. Do relationships, are you more of a people person and less of a people driver? Or does one drive the other? How does that work? That is one question. I'm so sorry to give you both at the same time. You can choose whichever one you want to answer first. The second thing that comes to my mind is that, what about the result for you? Of course, you're doing extremely well. You're the head of not only HR but also operations. You're doing phenomenal in your career. But isn't it a risk for wasn't it a risk at that time? Because a sales professional or a star usually shines brighter in an organization, then HR is more of a support function, more of an enabler, and sometimes you have to give away the credit to other people. So these are the two things that come to my mind. Whichever one you'd like to answer, please.
Okay, so I take these two questions more from the perspective of give you an elaborative answer on it. So it's like this because relationship is primarily trust. Okay,
Uh-huh.
so it's always little difficult in the beginning to build trust. Okay, so it starts with me like this that I start with 100% trust.
Mm.
Okay, it's not like and it comes very naturally for me, and that's my behavior. Okay,
Mm.
and that's my habit. Okay, so I start with 100% trust, and when I start with 100% trust, even the opposite party with whom I build relationship, if not today or tomorrow, the inclination or the angle towards going to 100% is faster
Mm.
because mine is already at
Already
100%. It's
there, right?
already there at 100%. For me, it can only fall down from 100%. It
Sure,
doesn't go up to 100%.
sure.
So what happens is they believe for why this relationship or what is this relationship taking place.
Mm.
So people always look for a couple of things in their lives. One is, am I comfortable in what I am doing? So make them comfortable.
Mm. Mm.
Okay. I have an objective in mind when I join an organization or when I join a career or when I, when I endeavor on something.
Mm.
Right. So does the HR professional help me or support me in achieving that?
Mm.
The third and the last, but the most important one is, am I able to beat the inflation?
Mm.
So what I mean is, it's not only emotional bank account, but also the financial bank account
Sure,
that
sure.
is connected or linked to the first
Mm.
two, that is performance.
Mm.
So take care of these three items for anyone, then it becomes even more easier for to take this relationship to results. Okay.
This is so specific, insightful, and powerful. I'd just like to recap this for the viewers, please. You're talking about handling three things, right? Three key things, and you spoke about trust. You say you start with 100% trust. So from your side is 100% positive. From a maximum it can do is fall from your side. They have to build it up. Whatever they want to do, they will do. And the fact that you are starting from that makes it more likely for them to do that. Second thing, you say you support and enable them to achieve their goals, and that's the emotional part. And the third part is you also make sure that they are financially also growing and progressing. So
Absolutely.
it becomes so much clearer when you have three things to focus on.
Absolutely. You are right. You are
Lovely,
right.
lovely,
Absolutely.
lovely, lovely, lovely,
Thanks.
lovely. Go ahead, please. Go ahead.
So what happens is that in the initial phase, when you start yourself in HR as a HR professional, you might not be able to, tinker, or you might not be able to make the effect on the last two items which I spoke of. The first item, anyway, it is me,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
So me as a person, I was very sure of what I am. So
Mm.
that 100% actually helped me to reach those two levels where I can influence both them to be successful in their objective and also to support or enable them on the last, the third angle, which is the benefits or rewards or recognition around what they have accomplished on point two, right? So it was not so easy. It comes with the first factor which I started with. So I am, different people, different professionals have their own strengths. Mine was more about this because that's something which I had with me. So it was very easy for me, right? So my advice is, if someone asks me, hey, Shenil, how to be more successful, just trust everyone blindly. Just trust everyone blindly. Okay. There can be faults here and there, but if anyone look back, you could have trusted almost 90% of your 100% trust would have been successful.
Mhm.
Maybe that
Brilliant,
10%,
brilliant.
yes, that you cannot control the traffic of the road, but you can
Mm.
control the steering that you have in your hand.
Very nice, very nice. I love this concept of 100% trust. It makes things so much easier. No? Because if you keep the doubt in your mind all the time, Krishna told Arjuna on the battlefield in his coaching session, documented as Bhagavad Gita. He said, "Sanshayatma vinashyati." He who doubts destroys himself. No? The more you trust, the more you are at ease. Now I know the secret behind that monk-like look. Shenil,
Yeah.
is trust localized? Which means, do you trust specific people for specific things, or do you just give full trust for everything?
Okay. So,
In terms of delegation or in terms of tasks, and that's my question. I understand from a human point of view that's powerful. I'm asking about the tasks.
So, very, very good one, Avinash. Thanks for asking that. So, there's always a difference between personality that you exhibit and the
Yeah,
professionalism that you carry,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
So, what I spoke about till now is the personality that I
That's right. That's
exhibit.
good. Yeah,
The
I want that
professionalism
to
I
come out
carry,
clearly. Yeah,
the professionalism that I carry always is to have facts in place. Okay. So, if I need to trust, that is my personality.
yeah,
But if I need to believe and take the trust forward,
yeah,
it is on the numbers or the kind of data or the kind of any of those that comes in
sure.
place, the facts,
Yeah.
right? So um, once the factual reality is matching up with the personality,
Mm,
you leave the rope little more looser,
mm,
and you can even to go to an extent that you need not have the rope in your hand.
mm, mm.
So so a professional starts with me for the initial days. Of course, I look for the data, I look for the
Sure.
facts, and as that continues, that it is a zero error, it's a kind of this, and then it builds up, right? So
Yeah.
that's how I merge or bridge the professional aspect of life to the personality type I am, right?
Brilliant, brilliant. Lovely, lovely. So it's like it reminds me of the situational leadership bell curve, where you start by controlling, and then you end up supervising, managing, and then finally delegating. So the rope becomes easier, but after verification, after evidence, and that doesn't clash with who you are as a personality. So this whole thing about not clashing, the alignment between who you are and what you need to achieve, or the personal and the professional. How important is this alignment? And when, for example, in organizations, see, I work with over 300 organizations in 30 countries, and I've seen that they keep HR normally keeps employee engagement as a separate thing, and they keep excellence enhancement or peak performance or L&D as they call it as a separate thing. Uh, so this is mostly focused on reducing attrition. That is mostly focused on developing talent. What is the connection? Since you're the person who merges the worlds, what is the connection between these two, please, in your opinion?
See, it's okay. So maybe because I started my HR not after going to a college to read or understand HR. For me, HR means people. Okay, so it's like all the facets of HR are one, and it leads to the end derivative, that is the business performance of the organization.
Sure.
Any entrepreneur would have started any organization with one thing in mind, that he need to enhance the revenue from where it is, and he would like to grow. Along with him, the people also need to grow. All right. So here, if you ask me, I people always try to have performance management is separate, retention is separate, employee engagement is separate, learning and development is separate. For me, it is that it's all beads in the same rope. Okay, and all the beads should be touching each other. It's not like you have a bead, then a knot of a rope, then you have another bead and another knot of a rope. It's not so. It should be all the beads should be touching each other, because it's all interlinked. And for example, if I do a great performance management with my team, then retention automatically happens. I need not bring them to the table to make them sit and tell them take an 8 hours of course, but they will be motivated to sit themselves in front of the system and take that 8 hours course, because at the end of the day, they know that this I am doing because I am a valued employee in this organization. So everything starts with frequent conversation with the team members and also having regular feedback. So this is always, it starts with the goal and the subsections of the goal, then how we can partner or we can be aligned together to make that goal be achieved. So if these conversations happen, no talent leaves. Talent leaves when I am not able to have these conversations adequately. And so performance management, retention, so obviously the employees engage when I am having these conversations. I also do something which will positively impact his mindset towards the suitability of him being there. So if he feels he is not suitable, immediately he will come and ask me that, hey, can I go for a learning and development course of this? I am sure that I will grow up. I will help the organization grow. We immediately support. So it's all together. As I rightly pointed out, don't leave any knots of the thread in between these beads, and then let the beads be touching each other so that there is always a vibration of energy from one bead to the other, and it forms a great necklace.
Beautiful. What a lovely analogy. And too many knots will start making them naughty. The beautiful, the analogy that, interestingly, that I also use is with the beads. We say that if you put the beads, and I'm taking this forward, connecting it, if you put these beads without the thread, and just put the beads one after the other on a line, and if you try to push them, then some of them will come out. Some of them you have to have policies. The policy comes from word police. Huh? You have to have use some kind of disciplinary measures or inspection. On the other hand, when you have the thread through it, with only one knot at the top and no knot over there, huh? And then you move. Wherever you move, they automatically follow you. So Absolutely. That's a beautiful analogy. Beautiful analogy. But what is this thread? Is it only the thread of trust? But there must be some other values. I'm looking at what are your personal values as a leader that have held you in good stead, that has made people follow you. You have already come out with some of them yourself. You've said there's trust. You said there's conversations. You said there's contribution. You've done for them. You care for them. So all this is there. Anything else? In terms of your personal values,
one important thing which I always believe is walk the talk.
Beautiful.
You expect someone to do something for you. You expect someone to do something for the organization. You expect someone to do something for the leadership. You demonstrate.
Right.
And don't look for others to start doing that just because you demonstrated. You continue to demonstrate. If there is all those elements that I was talking about, if it is there, once you lay the brick, immediately there's another person or your peer, your colleague, your team member, someone coming and laying the brick next to your brick.
Yeah.
If they don't do so, still you continue to lay the brick. We are all human beings. There is a guilt that, do I give that adequate contribution to what I am today? So he immediately, maybe instead of the first or the second brick, at least in 5 bricks, the 6th brick is his.
This reminds me of the Gandhigiri in Munnabai MBBS. We're talking about Gandhiji's philosophy. Ultimately, they'll get guilty and they'll come anyway.
That's how it is. So, these values are, so for example, I very strongly feel that don't tell a lie.
Right.
Okay. Because it's very difficult to hide a lie and
Yeah.
you continue to lie to
Yeah.
hide that lie.
That's it. My mother says the same thing. Never lie. It's so much. You don't have to remember anything if you don't lie. Keep your mind clean. So I got from what you are saying, I got the fact that interaction is important, influence is important, impact is important. Right?
Very true.
Okay.
Very true.
The interaction gives the influence gives the impact.
Absolutely.
Lovely. Huh? And for that, you use 3 C's. You use your compassion, you use your consideration, because you reflect on you reflect on data, you reflect on your personality, and also contribution.
Absolutely.
Okay. So this is the lessons that people can get from this channel. Lovely talking with you. Just one quick, I'm going to throw out some words. You throw back some words at me. First thing that comes to mind, like a fun rapid fire thing. Okay. If you want to throw out a sentence also, that's fine. Work-life balance.
If you love work, it is always balanced.
Right, Shenil. Second one is love in business. Is there any role? Love in business.
Love in business?
Does love have any role in business?
Root cause of happiness in corporate.
Root cause of happiness in corporate is love. Wow.
Love in business. Love in business. I think you meant love in business. Correct?
Yeah.
So
okay, very interesting. Very interesting. See how words are different. Now you say root cause of. You're talking about the difference between the word corporate and business. Is that correct? Huh? What is the difference, please? What is the difference?
Okay. The thing is, business is very directly involved to a particular function, whereas corporate is a a kind of different functions with different personalities doing different role and responsibility. So what is for business is not what is for corporate.
I see. Okay. So let's see, both business and corporate are in the professional sphere of life.
Absolutely. Correct.
Right?
Correct.
Does love is usually stated as being in the personal sphere of life, usually. So my question is actually this. Thank you for clarifying. Does love have a role to play in the professional side of life, whichever area?
Love does have a play because we are human, and if you don't love mankind, it is very difficult to be there in the kind of because this is something which I strongly believe. AI can come, chat GPT can come, a lot of other things can come, but if you are not able to love your brothers and sisters in the place of work, then it's very difficult for you. You need not go to office. You can just sit in front of the machine and make it happen. So it is important even in business.
Okay. Are relationships like business?
Relationships are not like business, but business can be built through relationship.
Wow, you're amazing. Huh? So, as you can see, clarity of thought, dear viewers, precedes clarity of speech. Shenil would not be able to come out with his wonderful one-liners, which makes sense, unless he had that clarity of thought and it's taken time to think about them before. Okay? So, which is another great lesson that as we go along the treadmill of life, if we pause sometimes and think about our own philosophy and put it together, have an aligned philosophy, hopefully also aligned with reality, we'll be able to move forward with much more speed, and we can influence more people with more speed. The scale of influence increases. Lovely to meet you, Shenil. Anything else you'd like to say before we say bye?
Thanks for talking to me. Thanks for interacting with me, because it's very informal. I would say, though it is a formal context, but an informal thing, because I sit here with no words that I have come prepared. It's something which just comes directly to you. So thank you very much for that.
Thank you so much. Thank you for being yourself. Thank you for being spontaneous. And I'm sure many people would have benefited. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Thanks.